It's been almost a year since the Amiga Speedmaster 57 was released, and today we're talking about whether it's worth the hype. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison as always, and today in the Chisholm Hunter watch box we have the Amiga Speedmaster 57. And an interesting thing happened when this watch was released early last year. An interesting thing happened to Amiga, and it's the fact that they couldn't fulfill the demand of this model. Actually, now that I think about it, it didn't just happen to the Amiga Speedmaster 57, the multiple colors in the Amiga Speedmaster 57. It happened to the Amiga Seamaster green dial, or commonly nicknamed by us, the watch community, as the Seaweed. Now, a lot of people got quite angry at the fact that they couldn't get these watches on demand. No, God! They got quite angry that they weren't readily available. And a lot of people put it down to smart marketing from Amiga. But I didn't put it down to smart marketing, I put it down to COVID. Let me explain what I've just said there, because I think it needs explanation. I think a lot of people in the watch community, us watch enthusiasts, expect high quality from Amiga, and that's what Amiga offer. Now, Amigas are expensive watches, but they're affordable for the COSC and METAS certification that you normally get, along with the fact that it's an Amiga watch and there's brilliant marketing behind it. But us, the watch community, expect Amigas to be readily available. Because let's not lie, it can be frustrating when you go into the store for a watch, normally a Rolex or an AP or a Patek, and they're just not available. So when the watch community began to see these increased wait times on the Speedmaster 57, the multiple colors, or the Amiga Seamaster Seaweed, and a couple of other variants, they started to get upset. But here's the thing, I do not think this is smart marketing from Amiga. I don't think they've done this deliberately. I think there's multiple contributing factors to the reason for these delays. Let's begin with COVID. So during 2020 to 2021, this watch was probably conceptualized. This watch was probably conceived and the idea was created for the Seamaster and also the Speedmaster 57. And the production would have started around about then to release it in 2022. But the thing that was present in 2020 and 2021 was, you guessed it, COVID. So COVID would have absolutely 100% impacted the production of these Amiga Speedmasters and also these Amiga Seamasters. So that was one contributing factor for the increased wait times on this watch. The next contributing factor is quite an interesting one. So do you remember the genius release? Oh, almost knocked my set down. Do you remember the genius release behind the Amiga Moonswatch? Well, that actually raised the Amiga Moonswatch's sales over the year by 50%. That is humongous. Now, Nick Hayek said this himself. Don't listen to me, listen to the boss. Now, I may be spitballing here, I may be barking up the wrong tree, but I'm a watch nerd. That is what I do. I kind of theorize. Maybe Amiga didn't realize the effect that the Moonswatch would have on the Moonwatch. And maybe because of that, they didn't increase the production of the Moonwatch early enough. And that's maybe caused some more wait times. The next point is, what did you actually do over COVID? I want you to cast your mind back to those 2 or 3 quite dark years of COVID, and I want you to think about what you actually did over that period of time. Because it certainly wasn't booking a holiday. And I think because so many people weren't spending money on holidays, but they still wanted that feel-good factor, they invested it in luxury watches, one of which being Amiga. And that would obviously increase the demand over a period where Amiga physically couldn't produce the watches because we were in a crisis, we were in a pandemic. So that's a couple of points. And the final point I'm going to get to is the color combos. Never before have we seen such insane color combos, bright color combos on the Amiga Speedmaster. Now the Amiga Seamaster, yeah, quite a lot of people saw the green dial coming. We all knew it would come eventually, but we didn't know it would be executed this brilliantly. The renders of the green dial look pretty bright green. It's almost too green, whereas when you see this in person, it looks phenomenal. It looks almost black in color until you shine it in the light, and then it looks green. Now, because of all of these factors combined together, because of the dip in production of Amiga during an unforeseen time, and the increase in demand because of the Moonswatch, because of the new colors, because of the money saved from COVID, it is created this bubble of hype around Amiga. Not that Amiga didn't have it in the first place. I mean, they had James Bond, they had the Moon Swatch, they had the Moon Watch. They have this brilliant marketing process, but there's just an increased hype around them at the moment because of unforeseen circumstances. Now, before I talk about this watch in particular, because I've gone off in a total tangent, do I think the hype is worth it? Yes, I do think the hype's worth it. Listen, at this point, you guys know me. This is just one of my wild conspiracy theories about one of my favorite brands in the world. And I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think that the factors that I've just mentioned have contributed towards those wait times, or do you not think that that's true? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, I should probably talk about watch. This was meant to be a review. I suppose it's not even a review anymore. Just kind of gone off on a tangent. Let's talk about this watch because it's bloody sexy. These specific Amiga Speedmaster 57s come in at 40.5mm in diameter, and between the lugs comes in at 20mm. Its total weight with all the links comes in at approximately 134 grams, and it comes in stainless steel. Now, the movement in these models is the caliber 9906. This is manual winding with a column wheel and a coaxial escapement. It's certified by Master Chronometer, approved by METAS, and resistant to magnetic fields reaching 15,000 Gauss. It has a silicon balance spring, 2 barrels mounted in series, and a time zone function. Central hour, minute, and chronograph hands, date function, small seconds counter, 12-hour and 60-minute counter, and a rhodium-plated finish with Geneva waves in arabesque. The power reserve comes in at 60 hours. Listen, I could go on about this watch all day, but it's turned into a totally different video. I think I'll finish on the fact that it's probably my favorite out of the 4 color combinations released. If you actually look at this dial, it looks almost dark burgundy. Now, it's interesting because on Amiga's website it says red, but when you look at it in person, it looks so much more muted, so much more dark, and the renders just don't do it justice. I think with any of the Amiga watches, the colors online just look a lot more vibrant than they do in person. And actually, I prefer them a little bit muted down, so it's a bloody sexy watch. Please let us know in the comments if you agree. Do you think that these factors have contributed to the increased demand in Amiga and the increased hype in Amiga? I'd love to have that conversation. Our goal this year is to hit 50k subscribers. If you could subscribe and help us reach that goal, it would be much appreciated. We are truly building the most brilliant watch community on YouTube. As always, my name's Harrison, this is the Chisholm Hunter channel, and I'll see you in a couple of days.